Okay, first thing first. Let me just say this: a PSA for anyone who's on Twitter. Be careful with your gaming opinions. Gaming opinions on Twitter has led to dumpster fires, as we can see here. As at least I'll talk about right now. Right now, here's the thing. Right, so this guy named Justin Davis, he works at IGN. His Twitter name is Era Justin, right? And he made a couple of tweets that really got set gaming Twitter on fire, right? So the first tweet he made was, since the launch of the next generation, I've done a complete 180, and at this point I wouldn't really recommend a PS5 to people, not until it has more games. Get an Xbox Series X and sign up to Game Pass. And then, okay, so he had that tweet right there. And then the second tweet is, I play an Xbox game literally every night, and I haven't turned on my PS5 on in 2 months. Returnal looks great, but it's $70. Game Pass is just too good to ignore. PS5 library will get there someday, and it will be expensive. Now, let me make one thing perfectly clear. I don't have an issue with his opinion of Game Pass, right? Like, if his opinion, I don't care which console he likes more. I really don't. Like, it's not a big deal to me. But I read these two tweets, and I'm confused by it, because if I'm not mistaken, right? Like, these consoles been out since November. Let's just say November, right? And I can't think of a major title that's released on Game Pass. I know, sorry about that. I know that MLB The Show launched on Game Pass. You know, I made a couple videos about that. But I can't think. I think Outriders. I don't know if it's out yet. I don't know. I don't really have any interest in the game. But I know there are a couple of titles coming out on Game Pass day one, right? Like, I get that. But outside of that, like, and this is the thing that I have an issue with the tweets. Not, like I said, not because I have an issue with which console he prefers. Like, he can like whatever console he likes. I'm confused by the logic behind the tweets. You know what I mean? Like, I'm confused by that. Hold on, let me get back to. Yeah, I'm just confused by the logic of the tweet. I'm trying to pull. I have the thing on the on the secondary screen here. Give me 1 second. Okay, yeah. Like, I'm confused by the logic of his tweets, right? Like, let's dissect the first tweet real quick, right? Since the launch of the next generation, I've done a complete 180. You know, I wouldn't really recommend a PS5 to people, not until it has more games. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, when it comes to, like, game releases, Sony has had more game releases so far than Microsoft, at least for this generation. You know what I mean? Like, I get that, you know, it's still the first year, right? And I don't want to make it seem like, oh, PlayStation's launch is, like, spectacular, because I personally, I don't think it's been. But I even think even less of that when it comes to the Xbox. Like, I can't think of one major game, whether it's exclusive or not. We can argue that whether it's next generation or not. We can argue that till we're blue in the face. But I can't think of one game that's been released on Xbox exclusively on Xbox. Well, I mean, like, you know, the game that's on Xbox but not PlayStation. That's pretty much what I mean. I can't think of one game on that system that I would say is anything remotely close to the amount of games that's released on PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? Only on PlayStation. So we don't really know what games he's talking about, right? We really don't know what type of games he's talking about. Like, this notion that until the PS5 gets more games, if he's just talking about backwards compatibility, And according to some other tweets that he made out, like his primary console last generation was PS4, and like I don't have a PS5, but I know for a fact that you can play the vast majority of your PS4 games on your PS5. So to me, I think what it seems to me is that he just likes Game Pass a lot, which is fine. But this notion that you have to wait till the library gets more full on PS5 it's just weird to me because, I mean, every major game that's come out has been on PS5. Like, at least when it comes to like games associated with the brand, has come out on PS5, right? You like Spider-Man, Returnal just released, and Ratchet and Clank is going to be coming out really soon. And I can't think of any games of that nature on the Xbox. I just can't. You know what I mean? The biggest thing that Microsoft has right now is Game Pass. And maybe he's talking about the games on Game Pass. I haven't looked at the list of games on it yet, on it recently, but if that's what he's talking about, that's fine. But then the second tweet, what throws everything just blows my mind, right? Like I said, I play an Xbox game literally every night, and I haven't turned on my PS5 in 2 months. That's fine. All right, that's fine. It's not a big deal. Returnal looks great, but it's $70. I mean, when did he discover that Returnal was $70? Like, you talk about how the PS5 needs to have more games, but there's a game that just recently came out, and you're essentially saying that you didn't play the game because it's $70. Like, when did you discover the benefits of Game Pass, and conversely, how much you had to, and conversely, I'm sorry, I had to pause for a second, that you had to, when did he realize that Returnal was $70? And when did he realize about the benefits of Game Pass, where you could just play a bunch of games for a price? Like, this is not new. Like, I guess that's where I'm going with this. Like, none of this is new. Like, Game Pass has been a thing for a couple years now, right? Paying full price for games on PlayStation is not new. On one hand, you're talking about how it needs more games, but then there's a game right here, and you're not willing to pay $70 for it, which is fine. But don't sit there and say there's not new games on the system when there's one right there and you won't play it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then in another tweet, I guess when someone who I'm cool with, J-Dub, he made a tweet pretty much pointing out that the IGN people made similar tweets or whatever, and his reply was, oh, they're gonna look silly when I play Ratchet and Clank, and how much I'm gonna love Ratchet and Clank, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, but that's also $70. So, like, what's the difference? I guess if I had to give him the benefit of the doubt, I guess he would say that he trusts Insomniac and he's not 100% sure about Returnal, which is fine. But here you have another game on the system, and that's $70. And like, even on the last, even for his last tweet, the last portion of his second tweet, PS5 library will get there someday, and they will be expensive. Like, did you just now discover that on your system? Is that new to you? Like, what am I missing here? Like, this is why I'm perplexed by this tweet, because all this stuff should already be second knowledge to you ever since the system's been out. Like, and he has no excuse. He works at IGN. You know what I mean? Like, when did you discover that these games were going to be $70? That were going to be, quote, expensive? Like, that was the case even when you bought the system. You know what I mean? Like, if it was so, and again, to give him the benefit of the doubt, if he had just recently got to the Game Pass, right? And he's talking about all these great games that he's playing on it for nothing. Then I guess in a way I can get it. I can understand it. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, like, don't say that, oh, well, the PS5 library will get there. No, of course. But the problem is that, like, the beginning of the generation, we're at the beginning of the generation, and Microsoft really hasn't released any new next generation games that I would associate with that console. Now again, it's early. I mean, they're fresh off of the Bethesda deal. Halo. I think Halo is supposed to come out later on this year. Like there's time. Like I'm not in. Like I said, I'm not trying to shit on Xbox or in any way, shape, or form. But you're talking about the library is gonna get there someday, but yet you're bragging about a service that has theoretically old games in it. Nothing next gen. I mean, maybe it's the FPS boost thing. I don't know. Like I said, when it comes to Twitter, there's a lot that can get lost in a conversation when you're just hamstrung to like so many characters, right? And I get that, right? It happens to everyone. I mean, that's why it's hard to have a full-fledged conversation on Twitter. I get that. Now, like you said, because of this, people started digging, and they started looking at his gamer tag, right? And it shows that now the gamer score, based on what I saw, I mean, I don't think it was anything like, it was nothing like, how would you call it? Like, I don't think it was anything that was like scandalous or nothing like that. The gamer score seemed to be on point. The problem is that it based on the games he played, he hasn't played a game in a couple weeks. And again, I don't know how. Like I said, I don't know if I don't know if he's reviewing games on the I don't know if he's reviewing games on a debug Xbox. I don't know how any of that stuff works, right? Like he said, he said he turns on his Xbox every single night, but his gaming profile doesn't necessarily necessitate that, doesn't really showcase that. Like, based on what I saw from people showing it on Twitter, that the last game he played was Yakuza Kiwami, right? And apparently that was 2 weeks ago. And because of that, he privated his gamer tag, right? So now, it's private. So yeah, I mean, the damage is done, man. Like, I mean, and look, I don't condone looking at, like, finding his gamer score and harassing the guy. Like, I don't condone that at all. It's not something I would do. I don't think it's as bad as, like, outright doxing someone or harassing someone, with verbal assaults and stuff like that. Like, I don't think it's to that level, but it's not something I would do. And based on what I can tell, like, he's a director at IGN, so I don't think he reviews games. At least I don't think he does. I could be wrong, but I don't think he reviews games. So based on that alone, this is where my opinion stems from, right? So since based on my opinion, based on what I can tell, he doesn't review games. Then I can say that I don't really think that his gaming tag should be public. Now, if you are reviewing games and you have an opinion on these games, and you're reviewing them, your scores are being reflected on Metacritic and stuff like that, then I think you should have your gamer tag public. Now, it's not a requirement. Like, it's not like I'm gonna sit there and look for it, but I do think when it comes to being credible in these gaming streets, I do think you need to have your gamer tag public. And I don't really follow the IGNs and GameSpots anymore. But for those whose opinions I trust when it comes to games, all their gamer tags are public. All of them are public. So, like I said, I don't know this guy. I don't think I don't think he reviews games for the site. Because his bio didn't really say it. So I'll give him a pass on privating his account. But like I said, like and I say this all the time, right? And I'll leave with this, right? If you're gonna have an opinion on Twitter, you're gonna have to be, and you work for a website like IGN or whatever, or even if you have like a high profile, right? If you're gonna have an opinion, then you gotta be prepared to defend your opinion, right? You know, like I said, you don't like for those of you for those that are clearly trolling you or are being really nasty to you, you could automatically dismiss those people. That's obvious. But if you have people who are generally wondering what's going on with the tweets, whatever, like me, for example, I don't want to toot my own horn, but yeah, I was thoroughly confused by these tweets. You know, it to me, it just the logic behind it made no sense to me. But like for someone like me or other people, you know, it's okay to have a civil discourse with people on these type of topics, right? And like I said, you can tell the douchebags in the crowd, and you can dismiss them. But yeah, like I mean, that's really it. Like I said, I was just confused by it, and then you know with everything going on, you know afterwards and whatnot, then you know I figured I'd make a video. Plus, I haven't made a video in a while, so you know I might as well do that. Be on the lookout. Hopefully, I have some cool things coming in the future. But on that note, this is Suvi 186. I'm out. Peace.